The purpose of the article about hugging and stress buffering social support was noted on page 1. It was to examine the roles of perceived social support and received hugs in buffering against interpersonal stress-induced susceptibility to infectious disease. There were 3 hypotheses, noted on pages 1 and 2. Hypothesis 1 was that more frequent conflict would be associated with increased susceptibility. Hypothesis 2 was that the association in Hypothesis 1 would be accentuated or attenuated or buffered among people who perceived higher levels of social support and among those who received hugs with greater frequency. Hypothesis 3 was that the buffering effects of perceived support would be fairly, partly, or wholly attributable to being hugged on a regular basis. The sample was explained on pages 2 and 3. Initially, it included 406 healthy adults from the Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania metropolitan area. 2 participants did not complete the study, leaving a final sample of 404. It was 46% female and 53% male, with a mean age of 33.5 and standard deviation of 10.5. 32% was African American, and overall it was 38.4% non-white. They were recruited via newspaper advertisements and community postings. That recruitment method may represent a concern about generalizability, given what it might mean in terms of the population and who had access to the newspaper and community postings. Social support was measured with 12 items from the Interpersonal Support Evaluation List, as discussed on page 4. Daily hugs were measured as part of a telephone interview, administered over 14 consecutive evenings. During those interviews, they also assessed daily social tension. Infection was manipulated in order to determine the effects of stress. It included a number of physiological measures, including weighing Kleenexes that had mucus or snot on them. In the results, we learned that the amount of conflict did not impact infection susceptibility among those who perceived high levels of social support. Such social support can even come in the form of implicit communication, such as hugging. High social support and frequent hugs were associated with less signs of illness. That information can be found on pages 10 and 11. So, how does this add to our knowledge? It indicates social support can effectively decrease the physiological symptoms that stress may cause.